April 19th, 2015. This will be a weekly outlook webinar as well as some strategy talk just in terms of the broader market right now and the small cap market as well, because there's some interesting things going on in there for those of you that are trading those names. So first things first, I want to log into the site and show you guys a bunch of videos that got posted this weekend to the video chart section. You just go to the video archive, go to categories, and go to video charts, and you will see a number of stocks, both big board, small cap, everything in between. We've got Netflix, GBSN, WUBA, which is just a great ticker. I still can't get over that one. WUBA. ADXS, Apple is on there, Google is on there, Amazon is on there, VLTC is on there, CHOP, AMCN, TROV. And just pointing these out because names like Amazon and Google, which I would usually cover in this Sunday night session, they have earnings this week. I've just started to get into the habit of posting a handful of videos each weekend just to make my life easier in these weekend webinars. And so that way, when you guys watch the replay of this webinar, instead of looking for a 2-minute segment in a 30-minute webinar, now you can just go to this section and simply watch a 3-minute video on Amazon or a 4-minute video on VLTC, and you're not getting a bunch of other information that you don't really care about. So that is first. Secondly, want to point out what's going on in the S&P futures right now and have a little discussion in that market, the S&P 500, broader index and everything. So nice down move on Friday into the close. You could see we were up near 2100. We had been pretty steady on the week. It was kind of choppy, had a little shakeout on Wednesday down to like 2090, but ended up recovering. But then Friday morning around 5:30 a.m. you just had a big time drop going from 2100 to 2085. Tried to recover ahead of the bell, but then the market opened up and just had a really nice drop. I mean, you lost 45 points, well, 40 points on the S&P futures, guys, from Thursday's high. 2105 was the high, and Friday's low was 2064. So that's a good solid drop. I mean, that wasn't just like a little blip or anything. This was solid. So now here we are, markets opened up, and you can see we have come off of Friday's low. Now we've had a 15-point bounce, and we're back above the 2080-ish area, which has been some congestion. Well, I shouldn't say above, but we're trying to get back above 2080-ish, which has been some congestion on the S&P futures. So this blue line that you see right here, this is a 15-minute chart, by the way. I should have called that out. But that blue line, this is a line that dates back over a month ago, and it's been a major pivot point. If you just go back, so it was these lows that we had bounced off of. This is where this line got charted at. So this right here, guys, I know I'm going backwards a ways. This is the middle of March. This is the FOMC move. Remember that big time rip to the upside on the FOMC announcement? You went 2050s up to 2100s on the S&P. Then you pulled, well, 2050s up to 2100. Then you pulled back and touched the 2075 area. That's why I put this blue line here. I always do this. Anytime there's a big time move in the futures, I always then plot a horizontal line off of the first support area that it bounces off of. So you came down here and then bounced nicely up towards 2100. So this blue line then became very important to me moving forward. And so that's where that comes from. Again, this is March 19th, March 20th, March 22nd. You can see that down here. So the reason I'm pointing that out is because you can see you came below it then in the later part of March, recovered back above it, then it was resistance in early April, then you eventually get above it here just a week and a half ago, but now you're back below it. So this line has been a pivot area. This is your post FOMC pullback support. Okay, so if you are failing at this 2075 area on the futures, then I think you can go lower towards 2050s. But if you're holding this, then I'm looking for a bounce back up on 2100. So for everybody that's trading the SPY, if you trade the SPY and you don't watch futures, you're not really paying attention to the right thing in my view, because the SPY does track S&P futures. It will have a very, very, very high correlation with what futures are doing. So if you're trading those options on SPY or just trading shares, keep an eye on this 2075, 2076, 2074 area on futures, because I think that will kind of dictate things moving forward. So just wanted to have that discussion first and foremost on the S&P 500 futures, because we know that that market tends to dictate a lot of the names we trade. Okay, looking at some individual chart plays here. First one I want to look at is Priceline. Priceline is testing the 1200 area, but it backed away from it on Friday. Initially it looked like it was getting a base above it. Then Friday, with the market going down, Priceline participated in that downside. And Priceline gets interesting because we don't have earnings for another couple of weeks, and we have a nice potential support break if we can break 1180. Below 1180, Priceline can sell off nicely, but if you can hold 1180, then I like Priceline to bounce back towards 1200. And if you can get a 1210 breakout, that's these highs here, then Priceline would really open up towards 1230 to 1250. So I like your setup on Priceline as you approach the 1180 for either a bounce or a breakdown. Keep an eye on it. The other thing I like about Priceline is implied volatility is just starting to creep up, but it's still kind of low on Priceline. If you look at options here for Priceline, if we take the in the money strike calls, or at the money strike calls and at the money strike puts, we can see that the market is pricing in about 27, 28 points of range on Priceline. That would be a decently tight weekly range, but it makes sense because last week you traded between 1182 and 1213, but that was still 31 points. So point being, premium is kind of on the cheaper side for Priceline, and on a name like Priceline, when you usually have to pay anywhere from $5 to $10 just to be somewhere close to the money, it's nice when premium comes down. So I wanted to point that out. Changing it up with a lower price stock here, looking at CYTR. This is a name that looks pretty good. Volume has been consistent. You've had a nice rally over the last month to 2 months, and on Friday it wasn't affected by broader market action. So nice to see CYTR come up near this $5 level, and you can see just a nice steep move here. Maybe a little too steep, but you know what? You had a big drop on Thursday and then immediately recovered. So for those of you looking at swing trades in the small low price stock space, CYTR is a good place to look in my view versus 450. Not saying go out and buy it at $5. I'm not saying not to go out and buy it at $5. I'm saying what I like is your setup relative to 450. As long as you stay above 450, then I like CYTR to be a buy on dips and move higher towards $6. If you get below 450, then you can see a nice drop back towards the $4 to 370-ish range. Why that range? Well, because if you look at your highs in September and then your highs in January, you can see that those were near 370 to $4. So I would look for that previous highs, previous resistance to now act as new support and be potential targets on the short side. But again, need to break down at 450 in order to trigger that. Otherwise, looking for higher prices on CYTR. If we go to a weekly chart, we can see that we're coming up on a key resistance break potentially right around 550. So that'll be the next resistance to get above 550, and CYTR then can target 650 to $7. So keep your eye on this one if you're looking for stocks under 10. Jumping back to a more expensive stock, looking at Tesla. So Tesla, this time last week, talked about it looks like Tesla has a bottom in place as long as you stay above $200. You have just kind of consolidated. You've stayed above 200. What I like is that on Friday you came below 200, but as this 3-minute chart will show that I'm expanding right here, you came below 300, but you got below 205. Could have gone towards 200. Okay, you see this action between 10 and 11 o'clock. You were printing 203s, 204s. However, Tesla got stronger as the day went on. The market got weaker as the day went on. Tesla got stronger as the day went on and ended up closing on its highs back near 206s, closed above 205. So I feel like that was a good sign, a bullish sign. Not overly bullish because it's still below 210, but still a good sign nonetheless, because you had a chance to go down and test 200 and Tesla did not take that chance. So I like the setup. It's another one where earnings still aren't for another 2 weeks. Alright, so versus 200, and you're in this tight little channel from the last 2 weeks between 200 and 210. If you can start holding 210, it's about a 4-point move, $4 away, $3.50 away, then I'm looking for a move up towards 220 to 225. If you come back down here and break this 200, then Tesla gets interesting to the downside again, and I'm looking for a move down towards 195 to 190. So Tesla, I like this setup. It's another one where implied volatility is starting to curve up, but premium is on the cheaper side. I mean, you can buy a in-the-money call. The 205 strike is going for under $5. Not much premium on that on Tesla. And you know, the 210 put, if it's going to go down, is going for about $5.50. So still not a ton of premium on that either. But again, key on Tesla is getting either that 210 breakout or the 200 breakdown. But while above 200, I kind of like the potential for upside here, but I'm not one to try and guess when a breakout is going to happen. At least I shouldn't be, because that's how you frustrate yourself. Alright, switching back to a low price stock here. ENZN. This has been a popular name that's gotten mentioned to me quite a bit, so wanted to pull it up. Now, to be honest, when I first got this request, I kind of looked at the chart and I was like, meh, not really interested in it. But then I got another request and I was like, okay, something must be going on. And then I got a third request and I was like, alright, everybody must be trading this thing for whatever reason. So this is a weekly chart. First thing I want to point out is how high the volume was this past week. This is your highest volume in at least the last few years. Let's go back further and see if we see anything else. Nope. So this is your highest volume in years and years and years here for the stock. But the stock is at all-time lows, which is what I wasn't attracted to about it. I don't like weak stocks. So I think what's going on here is people are thinking, all right, maybe it's looking for a bottom reversal. So Thursday, nice move to the upside, but you closed well off of the highs on Thursday. And then Friday you gapped up, tried to be in the green, made a move to the upside, but then again closed well off of the highs. So personally, I'm not a big fan of that. I would have preferred to see it hold on to a bulk of these gains, because you're just barely getting above the late February highs on ENZN. So, you know, she hasn't made a believer out of me. I want to see it stay above Friday's low around 125. If you can hold 125, I think you can go higher, but I would be a seller as you came up towards 140s to 150s, just because that's where the selling has clearly been the last 2 days. And if you lose 125, then I think you can give up, you know, a good chunk of this move and target 110 to $1. And this is a good lead-in for some discussion on what's going on in the low price space. Some people call it the small cap space. I don't call it small caps because I don't know for sure if these are small caps, and everybody's got different definitions of small caps. So I'm just going to call it the low price stock space. And so ENZN, right? I said I wasn't a big fan of it, even with the big volume on Thursday, and that's because you closed well off the highs. But it does represent some things that are going on in this space. Number one, volume spikes coming out of nowhere, moving a stock up. All right, I can show you a number of examples here. You look at VLTC, right? And I'm going to get some of this stuff out of the way. So VLTC, right? Okay, so this is all we had. That's not the right way to look at it. Let's do this instead. All right, big volume spike out of nowhere. And then, boom, follow through. AMCN is another one. Big volume spike out of nowhere, and then follow through. Follow through meaning you've gotten follow through upside. CHOP. Big volume spike out of nowhere, and then follow through the next few days. And then lastly, and there's a number of these examples, I'm just choosing a few of them. GBSN, kind of a big volume spike out of nowhere, and then follow through the next few days. And these aren't big volume spikes in terms of the actual dollar volume. I mean, most of these are only a couple million shares, but they're big volume spikes relative to what the stock has typically been trading over the last few months. GBSN, for instance, on March 27th, traded 2.6 million shares. Well, the average volume prior to that was only 2,000 shares. I mean, these are literally illiquid pieces of I don't know what that are just getting bought up, but they're actually showing follow through and really starting to move. So for whatever reason, that's what's hot right now, these low float names that don't have much trading history in terms of volume. Recently, they have trading history in terms of the price, but in terms of real volume, there's not much there, and then they just kind of get going. And I think that's why people requested ENZN a lot from me, because, you know, here you are, you've got a big volume spike, right? And it's low priced, and people are thinking, oh, maybe this is the next one. But what I want to point out is that ENZN's volume isn't as high, or sorry, isn't as low as some of the other. The average volume on ENZN prior to this big spike was still 157,000 shares, which isn't a lot. All right, that's not a lot, but again, you compare it to these others like VLTC. Her average volume line prior to the big spike was down near 100,000. You look at AMCN, her average volume before this big spike, she was printing 40,000 shares, 50,000 shares on average, 100,000 shares, you know, just a couple weeks ago. So ENZN to me doesn't really fit the bill, and you didn't show great follow through, right? You came off the highs 2 days in a row. So in terms of strategy, if you're out there and you're scanning your small cap stocks, your low price stocks, or you're hanging out in our chat room and you're seeing somebody mention this name and that name, you really want to pay attention to the volume that's coming in relative to the stock's previous volume, because what's hot right now is the volume just getting blown up, coming out of nowhere. and then you want to see follow through. You want to see stocks closing on highs, making big moves, staying really active to the upside, because that's really what's working. That's what's catching the attention of these traders that are focusing in on these low price stocks. Alright, lastly, talk some high price stocks, talk some low price stocks. I want to talk in between. IPO name SHAK. If you haven't had their burger, you should do so. I don't know if the burger is a $61 per share burger, but it's definitely a good burger. So this stock, unfortunately, I don't get volume criteria for the pre-IPO, recent IPO names. I don't know why TradeStation doesn't give it to me, but it doesn't. But at any rate, you can see here we just went from 50 bucks on up to 62 bucks, and now you're kind of in a little flag here. The last 2 days you've stayed within the range of Thursday on Friday, but again, as the market got killed, this is a name that if you were short Shake Shack, you were begging for a big down day in the markets, because you knew, hey, if the market goes down big, these big time names that have the outrageous PE ratios, they're going to get killed. Well, guess what? Shake Shack did not get killed at all. So, you know, excuse my French, but the shorts look pretty fucked on this thing in the short term. Alright, so I'm going to look at a 15-minute chart, break it down a little bit to point out that, yeah, you really overbought on a daily when you look at it, but when you look at the 15-minute, you have some good consolidation going on in the last 2.5 days. So this is right here. This was Wednesday, starts over here, Wednesday number 1, number 2 is Thursday, and number 3 is Friday. You can see consolidated on Wednesday, then you made it a good move up towards 60, but then you consolidated in range between 59 and 62-ish. So Shake Shack wouldn't be surprised by more momentum here to the upside. As far as looking for some relief on the downside, if you're caught short this name or looking for a short on this name, you need to get below this Wednesday low. This area that I just highlighted between 57 and 56, the exact low looks to be 56.81. So, call it 56.75. Get below 56.75, you can have downside towards 50, but as long as you're staying above that, I think Shake Shack's going to continue to squeeze higher. I like this name. Again, I don't have any opinion long term on stuff like this. It's above my knowledge level, but in the short term, price action wise, she looks very strong, and sentiment is still very, very negative. There's nothing better than a stock that keeps going up with more and more people thinking it shouldn't be going up, because that just means that's more and more people that are, one, either shorting, or two, on the sidelines that represent sideline capital that can come in and push the stock higher. If the stock was going up and everybody agreed that it was doing so well and it's such a great name and it should be $100, I wouldn't be nearly as bullish on Shake Shack. But in the short term, I personally know 2 traders that I respect that are both really short in this name heavy, and it's not going well for them at the moment, but they haven't yet covered, and I imagine there's a lot more people like them out there. Alright, so that's the recap on charts. Again, I want to direct you to the video archive categories. Go to video charts. There, I think, is over 8 charts that I posted yesterday and today. A lot of popular ones: Netflix, GBSN, WUBA, ADXS, Apple, Google, Amazon, VLTC, CHOP, AMCN, TROV. Those were names that I would have covered tonight, but I covered them for you already this weekend, so go check those out in the video archive. Lots of good swing trades and day trade setups in that list. Alright guys, any questions on anything here? Alright, what do you got for me, Dave? I said any questions and somebody said yes. But you haven't asked me. Okay. How about talking about why the market is going up? The drivers such as China. Well, Dave, I can't do that because I honestly don't know why. I am not a news guy, for better or for worse. I'm not on news outlets. I mean, I see news if I'm on Twitter and somebody I follow posts a headline, but I do not go out of my way to read news. I just don't. So I couldn't tell you why the market's going up. I couldn't tell you why it went down on Friday. I think the headline I saw somebody tweet out was that the German DAX was down last week and that was catching up to our market. Who knows? But I'm just, I think you are what you read, and I don't like reading news anyway. But I know some people that they love incorporating news into their strategy, and it works for them. So we're all different. Okay, so Dave telling us China is lowering rates. So yeah, and again, I don't know anything about. The reason I don't read news is because I don't know what to do with it. Okay, so yeah, talk about the new stock chat room. This is good. So again, guys, I posted a video on YouTube talking about it. Let me log into the demo account though, because I don't want to mess with my account. Alright, so a handful of you guys, we're starting to get some more and more stock traders in the trade room where there's usually a lot of options trading posted. So we had some requests for a new stock room or just a separate room to be launched to kind of separate the options and trading. And so we went ahead and did that. So when you log in and you click the join our chat, you will get taken to your default chat room. My default chat room on here is the options room, but I could switch to the stock room and just go in there. Sunday evening, so nobody's really hanging out in the rooms at the moment. But what I can do, if I want to make my default chat room the stock room as opposed to the options room, I would go to the My Account section. I'd hit this little blue button here. That's what lets me edit my account. And then I would just change this default chat room tab to the stock room from the options room. I would update my profile there. And then I would log out and then log back in order to let the system reset itself. And then when I join the chat, you can see it takes me directly into the stock room. Starting out, I know that two of the guys that, if I was a new stock trader to this room, two of the guys that I would be following here are the J. Carter brothers. They are people I've known for years and years. They signed up. Some of you probably never even seen them because they don't trade options, so they're only going to be in the stock room. But they're really getting to be consistent traders, and I'm looking for them to bring a lot of life to this room. We did just launch this literally on Friday afternoon. So you guys will have it nice and quiet at first. There'll probably be 5 to 10 of you in there, but I expect this room to grow just like our options room has grown. Some of the things I really like that you guys don't know about necessarily is we have post limit capabilities. So if somebody new signs up and they're posting a ton of garbage to the room, we can just limit the amount of posts they make. So there's never going to be bad ideas getting thrown in here. We're really going to monitor the quality. And if somebody's posting great ideas, then we can give them unlimited posting ability and make sure that there's a lot of quality going on in here. But yeah, any questions with the stock room directly? My advice is just understand it's completely new. It is gonna take a little bit to fill up, but I would expect that to happen relatively quickly, and there will be highlighted moderators in there to help you guys know maybe who to pay attention to more so in the beginning, but I don't think it'll take you guys long to figure out who the knowledgeable people are, who the people are that are just kind of hanging out to watch, and who the people are that are trying to cause trouble. But again, we won't be having much of that because we have some good capabilities here with the paid chat. Any other questions? Oh, and also just lastly, for you stock guys, I know there's a couple new people here tonight even, you really want to follow Money Flip, who I think he's logged into the options room right now, but during the trading day I'm sure you'll see him in the stock room. Yeah, so Money Flip's in red. He always posts really good small cap names to keep an eye on. You want to follow his watch lists at our blog. You could see he had ADXS on there, AMCN, you know, a lot of the names I did video charts on, NWBO, Ross G. So these are all $20, $10 or less. Like I said, won't be hard to figure out where the good stuff is coming from. No, you don't have to pay access. You get access to everything. If you're a member, you get access to everything. There's no marking up for access to both rooms or access to one room. You can go into either room as you please. A webinar on unusual options activity, that's a good idea. I will make a note that we want a webinar on that. I've got 2 webinar ideas that were requested. The best broker and just brokerage tools and software and kind of what you need, and then unusual options activity. Do I follow commodities? I follow commodities passively. I can tell you, you know, where GLD and where USO are around, but again, it's one of those things where I don't follow the fundamentals or, you know, the news flow behind them. I know oils got killed the last 6 months. I know gold has gotten killed the last few years. All right, but you know, I follow my stocks that you see listed on the bottom. Dave, we've talked about this before. You know, Tesla, Netflix, Amazon, Google, Priceline, Twitter, Apple. If it ain't one of those, I'm not really trading it. More than happy to share an opinion on something, but just the way it goes for me. Any other questions? Alright guys, well if you do get any other questions, I will be in the options chat room. Again, we got to get a third chat room created, just kind of like a webinar room or a question and answer room. We'll work on that. But I'll be around this evening probably till about the next hour or so if you think of anything. Otherwise, I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Let's have a good week. Thanks guys.